English translation. 578th contact Thursday, the 9th of January 2014, 22:48 hours.
Dear friend, here I am. Hello, Eduard.
You surprise me, my friend, because I did not expect you. But be greeted and welcome. I just sent 2 faxes to Marianne and Christian.
I noticed that, and when I saw that you were still working as usual, I did not want to miss the opportunity to discuss some things with you because we got clear results regarding the strange incidents that have been happening in the center for years. While these are not satisfactory in the sense that they are useful, they do explain the strange things that keep happening in the center.
I am sore, because just yesterday something happened again. And this is what happened. I do not want to talk openly about this either, because I can already hear what know-it-alls and opponents would make of it to declare myself and the Figu as crazy and make it impossible. Therefore, I will omit what I have said when calling up and writing down the report of the meeting.
Which will probably be correct because your concerns do indeed have their reasons. So now listen to what we were able to fathom. The whole thing is about religious sectarian fanatical energies, which are emitted in billions of times the number of human beings affected by delusions of godliness and which accumulate. In this way, they become a huge power, which accumulates worldwide in carriers of electricity and causes such phenomena as you have described to me repeatedly. The origins are the sectarian religious thoughts that send out electromagnetic impulses that are inserted into the carriers of electricity, especially into the generators, transformers and distribution stations of the power stations, from where they spread through the electrical carriers and produce their strange and manifold effects wherever anti-religious and anti-sectarian efforts appear. In this way, the energies in question become independent and become a power that acts independently in the sense of the believers who are afflicted by the delusion of faith, in the way you have described it several times in the past. In the same way, this powerful energy also has a direct effect on all the human beings who are unstable in faith, billions of times over, so that they are so influenced by religion and sectarianism that they are unable to free themselves from their delusions of faith, while other unstable believers fall into delusion and become unrealistic and untruthful. This also results in religious sectarian terrorism, as was the case, for example, with the Christian Crusaders and witch delusionists, as well as with Islam and the Kali sect in India and various other religious sects. With the Christian Crusaders and witch delusionists, as well as with Islam and the Kali sect in India and various other religious sects, but is also the case today with Islamist and political terrorism, etc. Religious sectarianism wields tremendous power and leads the human beings to seek revenge and retaliation in the name of their faith, as well as to commit delusional murders and mass murders of many kinds, proving that a religious sectarian faith is absolutely not harmless. It is also a fact that many death penalty claims are attributed to religious and sectarian believers, with many of them invoking the false and inhumane principle of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, which is contrary to natural creational laws and recommendations. The might of the religious sectarian thought-swinging waves, which are of an electromagnetic nature, thus combine with the swinging waves of electricity, which form the actual factor of carrying and spreading. And since everything possible and impossible worldwide is based on electrification, this forms the best medium for spreading the dangerous religious and sectarian vibrations everywhere and allowing them to take effect. And finally, there are also the mobile phones, which you call mobile phones, through which the vibrations are transmitted directly into the human beings. This enables the religious, sectarian, aggressive swinging wave to manifest itself in the consciousness. Aggressive swinging wave to manifest itself in the consciousness, causing much behavioral harm to unstable human beings, because they cannot control the accompanying aggressiveness, but rather implement it thoughtlessly through correspondingly evil actions and deeds, which can lead to anarchism and the harassment, bullying, beating, and even the killing and effective murder of fellow human beings. And in order to ward off all these evil and negative effects, there are unfortunately no countermeasures that could be taken, because it should be possible to block every single degenerated thought impulse of the religious or sectarian delusional believers. This is impossible, however, because the number of religious or sectarian delusional believers is estimated at more than 6 billion.
So, every single person of the 6 billion or more would have to be. Every single person of the 6 billion or more would have to be. Well, from what you say, the whole thing has been in evidence since earlier times. Because you said that the Christian Crusaders and the witch delusionists, etc., were also influenced by the religious sectarian vibrations, but less so than today. Furthermore, I notice that you use more and more of my ways of speaking, terms and words.
That is correct. I mean, on the one hand, in terms of the use of your ways of speaking terms and words, because they say much more in their power than the simple forms that have diplomatic features. So I have made it a habit to use your many expressive ways of speaking, terms and words. On the other hand, it is also correct that even in earlier times, everything was on a smaller scale in terms of impact, because there were fewer human beings, whereas today there are several billions and also the electricity, which as a perfect carrier encompasses the whole world and uncontrollably amplifies and spreads the aggressive vibrations. Unfortunately, it is impossible to counteract all this in any technical way, even for us, but also for the Sonair, who do not have any technology that would make this possible. The only thing that could be effective would be the final dissolution of all religious sectarian beliefs, in connection with the teaching and learning of the effective reality and its truth, to which Earth humans would have to turn through understanding and reason. There is no other possibility. And if this is not considered and implemented, then everything will become even worse. Also in relation to the growing overpopulation, because large parts of the delusional believers believe that religious sectarian heresies are a right to unlimited procreation, through which in turn new delusional believers are bred.
So this means that everything will continue in the old way and nothing can be done about it.
Yes, that is the state of affairs, unfortunately.
Then we were more or less right with what we had suspected. So the only thing we can do is to accept it and be very vigilant.
Yes.
Good, then the subject is closed. Can I ask you what the state of the world's population was on the 31st of December 2013, as I asked Florina to bring me the figures when you came here?
Of course. The calculations I have here, yes. The earthly population on the 31st of December 2013 at 0 o'clock hours was exactly 8,424,738,019 human beings.
Thanks. Bernadette already asked me today because she must have the figures. But something else still. In Germany, that is to say in Bremen last Monday, the 6th of January, a sighting with regard to a UFO again made the headlines. Concerning this, I have already received an inquiry by telephone, whose origin had been the observed object. Of course, I do not know what this is, which is why I'm asking you if you could give an explanation for this. From Focus, I have copied the following from the internet. The investigations of the police in German air traffic control run at full speed, after an unidentified flying object had been sighted over Bremen. Tips from the population and a recording should shed some light. What's behind the UFO? During the investigations of the UFO over Bremen, the police followed up on at least 25 tips from the population. Citizens had notified by telephone or email and reported on their observations of the unidentified flying object on Monday, police spokeswoman Kirsten Dambeck said on Wednesday. I think that even more tips will come in. A photo had also arrived. However, its usefulness had not been determined up until the early afternoon. Meanwhile, a police spokesman from Bremen explained to Focus Online that the picture shows no particular details. In the photo, one sees only the night sky and the beautiful roofs of houses from Bremen. In their investigations, the police are working together with the German air traffic control. On Monday evening, a traffic controller in the Bremer Tower had noticed a flicker on the radar, and then after looking outside saw a flying object with position lights. Also, 2 policemen saw something similar like a helicopter in the sky. Because of the mysterious incident, one flight was diverted, another cancelled. Where did the flying object come from and what it was exactly is so far completely open. Neither a police helicopter requested from Lower Saxony nor a ground patrol could find anything on Monday evening. Video: Mystery of unidentified flying object with NASA. Focus online. Mystery of unidentified flying object with NASA. Focus online. NASA for hours in restlessness. Mystery around unidentified flying object next to the ISS. In this description was also a photograph of the ISS next to a larger hovering unidentified object. Whether the photo is genuine or whether it is a fake, I do not know. Do you have any information regarding this photo and the observation in Bremen?
Both occurrences are unknown to me because, as I told you earlier, that we are not implementing a total surveillance on Earth and in near-Earth space, nor in outer space. With regard to both these announcements, if it does not concern charlatanry, as unfortunately is often the case in such announcements, such as by falsifying pictures, how this can be done today and very easily without any major machinations with computers, which is also very frequently the case, or in order to simulate UFOs just for fun or charlatanry by using hobby-based models of balloons, Zeppelins and other flying devices, then probably unidentified flying objects can be spoken of if they cannot be identified. Natural phenomena, as well as secret terrestrial military flying devices, also belong to UFO observations. Next, however, the 4 foreign-to-us groupings must also be taken into account and considered, which could be responsible for UFO appearances. Concerning this, those groupings should particularly be mentioned, with which, for certain reasons, we have been thoroughly occupied lately. And as I explained to you during our last 2 conversations, this group is particularly active, and indeed both in European airspace as well as worldwide. Therefore, it could very well be possible that those 2 events lead back to this grouping. This, nevertheless, only if a deception, forgery, charlatanry, or a secret military aircraft was not given as the cause. In our point of view, the aforementioned foreign-to-Earth grouping is indirectly connected with many unidentified flying objects, which since time immemorial have repeatedly appeared and have been observed on Earth, and about which also many records are noted in our annals. The explanations are interesting, which say that Earth foreigners have been observed from our side in the terrestrial airspace for more than 5,000 years, and assertions were made regarding this, which are consistent with the observations made by us in the last few decades. However, it also emerges from the annals that on our side since time immemorial, all contact with the strangers was avoided. And precisely because no technical possibilities existed to get close to the stranger unseen and unnoticed, and to clarify what and how they were like and where they came from. Therefore, it also could not be ascertained whether or not any danger emanated from the Earth strangers for us Pleiaren and for the Federation. Consequently, distance was maintained all the time since then, and also no contact attempts were undertaken. 5,000 years may appear to you as a very long time, but with regard to the overall circumstances and the security of our peoples and Federation, this does not fall into the weight. The necessary clarifications only now became possible for us through the available technology provided to us by the Sonair, through which we were able to provide clarity that a danger on the part of strangers to us, Pleiaren and the Federation, can likewise be excluded, as well as that it is not possible of the Earth strangers to penetrate into our space-time configuration. So on the one hand, based on the annals, even in the new time, we conducted ourselves restrainedly. On the other hand, however, also as a result of our directives, as well as in terms of the given facts with regard to the development of their still rather deficient technology and of the behavior of strangers. And so, as we have not made ourselves recognizable to them and sought no contact with them, do we thus continue to behave towards them?
Interesting. You've never said anything. You've never said anything. As well as your daughters Simyase and Quetzal have never spoken of it. Therefore, the whole thing is completely new for me, and I also knew nothing of it. That since time immemorial, so for more than 5,000 years at least, there was a foreign-to-Earth grouping. And that these probably stand perhaps directly or indirectly connected in some way with the Earth strangers' functionings around the Earth today. That really is a piece of news. But for that, however, I have one question. If you are moving on the Earth, like for example, even when you come to me, the foreign grouping could nevertheless locate you, correct?
Not speaking about that, we were obliged in accordance with our directives, because no usable information was available to us, according to which we could direct ourselves in our behavior in no other wise, as we do not make ourselves recognizable to the strangers, and therefore we also seek no contacts with them. That has now changed. However, through our latest findings in such a way that we can now speak openly with you about our cognitions, through our latest findings in such a way that we can now speak openly with you about our cognitions, because with absolute certainty no danger threatens us from the foreign-to-Earth grouping, and they also cannot register our presence. This also means that regarding this, you may now openly write down and publish our conversation. And now, concerning your question, therefore is to be explained that the Earth strangers are also not able to locate us when we move about the Earth, or if we visit you, because you know, however, that even then we are continuously shielded from any view and detection. You have already seen several times when we were with you that you, however we, could not be observed and seen.
That is all well and good, but I still wonder why you never told me at least something of the whole thing. And what you say, concerning your shielding from view and detection, I know, of course, but I did not know that it is permanently present. How does it stand when you visit me in my workspace? Also to say is that in Marauli in India, the human beings there had always seen Asket when she visited me at Ashoka Ashram.
The protective device is also active in your workspace. Therefore, if you were observed, only you could be seen, as well as only you are able to see us and to touch us. With Asket, it was a different case, because when she came into the Ashoka ashram, a bell-shaped protective umbrella was over it, which made it impossible for any viewing or detection from the outside. And with the consent of Asket, if you could make pictures of her beamship, then this was also only a viewing channel open to you, and indeed in the same way as when you had photographed the flying devices of Simyase and Quetzal with your camera. And that I told you nothing, that had a reason. Gladly I would have spoken to you about it, but I was bound to our directives, which do not allow some information to be passed on. Our committee was probably informed about the whole thing. However, the accountability rests with the entire spirit leadership, which on the one hand was naturally also informed and on the other hand is collectively responsible for the directives and their compilation and compliance. Since now, as a result of our newly won findings, a new state of affairs has been revealed, which clearly states that no danger exists for us, Ptaah, and for the entire Federation through the workings of the Earth strangers on the Earth. The overall spirit leadership issued an annulment of the directive specified by me with regard to the necessity of our silence. Therefore, I now stand able to talk and answer you.
I can understand that. Thanks for your explanation. But what I still want to ask, so you have clarified that there is no danger from this Earth-foreign grouping for you, Ptaah, and for the Federation. Should I assume according to this declaration that it can be dangerous to get in contact with any Earth foreigners or aliens? To find contact to extraterrestrials, that is what the Earthlings have been trying to do for decades, especially through the SETI program, in which a probe with information about the Earth and the earthly humanity was shot out into space.
I know this, And it is effectively a profound stupidity of the earthly scientists responsible for it, because it cannot be foreseen what kind of Earth foreigners will be when they get hold of the SETI probe. Civilizations of foreign planets, both in the Milky Way and in other galaxies, are not necessarily peaceful-minded and are conquering other habitats or worlds they colonize in war. And yet, among these conquerors there are often quite barbaric beings who are in no way inferior to the Earth humans in terms of similar machinations, as they are peculiar to them if religious mania and sectarianism are left out of the equation. For in this form we know of no Earth foreigners who have degenerated in terms of religious sectarian belief as the majority of Earth humans. Therefore, it is particularly stupid and irresponsible what was started with the SETI program, because if one day the probe falls into the wrong hands, it can become quite bad for the earthly humanity and lead to disaster.
The responsible Earthlings know everything better, but maybe there will be a comprehensive and huge catastrophe on Earth due to overpopulation before the SETI probe is found by alien conquerors. And there is no doubt that this catastrophe is already pre-programmed by the ever-increasing overpopulation and its effects on nature, its fauna and flora, the climate as well as on the planet itself, and in relation to everything that is necessary for the life of mankind. Just today, a television program was broadcast showing what will happen when the Earth's population reaches 14 billion human beings. The presentation of the whole thing was not very good, but it gave a small glimpse of what will happen if the overpopulation is not finally stopped. The fact is that the catastrophe is already looming, and it does not take 14 billion human beings to make it happen. The number of catastrophes is already growing, but the stupid are trivializing everything. Moreover, those responsible for counting the humanity on Earth are still talking about only 7 billion, while according to your precise investigations, 8,424,738,019 human beings are now populating the Earth. That is more than 1.4 billion, 1,400,000,000 more than is stubbornly claimed.
That should be enough said for today because I still have various obligations to fulfill.
May I ask 2 more questions?
But it must not be much longer.
I promise. Ratzinger is of his own accord, for whatever reason, resigned from his papacy and has also made room for Pope Francis. Does this now affect the traditional papal and Vesuvius prophecy, whereby I mean it in the sense that it is not fulfilled? After all, the prophecy refers to the last pope and to the fact that an eruption of the volcano Vesuvius is a sign that another world war is about to break out.
Now, as everything is about to come to pass, there has been a major change, which means that the resignation of Pope Ratzinger will not fulfill the prophecy. There would have to be further serious changes if something in the sense of the old prophecy were to come to pass after all.
Then the last question. You once said that there were natural foods that could prevent or simply slow down Parkinson's disease in a highly concentrated form. You mentioned vegetables that contain natural nicotine, which, when eaten, has an alleviating or preventing effect on Parkinson's disease.
That is correct. Pure vegetables such as tomatoes, peppers, aubergines, and cauliflower, etc., which contain natural nicotine are effective against Parkinson's if eaten frequently. A very effective extract can also be made from these vegetables, which can produce very beneficial effects.
Those were my questions.
Then I will go now. Goodbye, Eduard, my friend. When I am with you, time always passes very quickly.
I can always tell. Take care and see you again soon, dear friend. Take care, Ptaah.